Here we go. We're live.
Hey,
All
good
right.
afternoon,
We
everybody.
are on Art Radio today.
Today,
Virtual edition.
Yeah.
So is everybody masking or out? I just was showing off my new Shakespeare mask that says, "We shall everyone be masked." Shakespeare was talking this way over 400 years ago. It was probably a different context, but from Love's
But
Labour.
once again, what a profound prophet he was.
Indeed.
I think he was going to the masquerade ball,
Yes.
which will take on whole new connotations now from this point forward. We should actually try and plan one if we're going to have to keep wearing masks.
Joe, you're on it. It's a hell of an idea. I think that could be fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Cover your nose and mouth attractively and let no one know who you are.
Those fabulous masks, right? Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I like it.
We could get crazy. That would be fun.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? You look great.
And you do too. I'm doing well. I've been busy with the practice and with also writing songs and creating weird news this week. But I've written a song I'm going to post this week called Invasion. It's a pretty serious song. Just a response to the situations going on. And the theme is it starts out with spacecraft landed at my front door. That never happened before. It's just that there's spacemen. Where are the humans? Where do these spacemen come from? I don't know them.
Wow.
The behaviors that I'm seeing on the street. Who are they? Aliens? Is this from another? So it's got that general theme without trying to target anybody in particular, or just that we seem to be in a chaotic moment. I hope it's a moment in history, but it's chaotic. And I think a lot of people that write anything or draw or sculpt or whatever are trying to wrap their artistic minds around what's going on.
It's
to say
our way
something,
of, Well, it's our way of sharing it.
Yeah.
Of how we feel.
Yeah.
I know that's what I've been doing. I've been writing like crazy. I've also been writing in my children's stuff. I wrote a pretty sad song called "Time the Deceiver," and it's so anyway, yeah, it is. I think everybody that has the creative streak is impacted by the chaos.
Yeah.
I stopped my bike to jot down a little couplet that basically said the same thing. How do you find sanity in a world that's gone crazy?
Yeah.
And where do you find peace when everything is bad? So
it sure makes me feel glad that I have creative outlets, and that's good. I think time
and helping people of all ages.
There we go.
And Joe, you're on the front lines with young people, and helping them process this whole. I'm still getting over the notion of hearing a 4 or 5-year-old use the word quarantine or pandemic. It's kind of like in a normal circumstances, this wouldn't be part of that vocabulary, but it is.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and the difficulties of parents to get their child to wear their mask and keep it on. I mean, it's just bad enough to get their gloves on and keep those on. Come on, now you want to cover their face? That is so difficult. It is.
Well, it's difficult when parents won't put their masks on. So
good point, sir. Really good point.
I know. Good proper role modeling always a good thing.
Well, should we try to lighten things up a little bit? And
please, hopefully,
by all means,
something light with art. Tom, can you?
Well, we've got. I was thinking in terms of weird news. I was thinking about criticism, the art of criticism. It is an art, and it's a valuable art. And good critics are knowledgeable, and they have references. This movie maker is working in the tradition of such and such a play. So there's information, but then there's other critics that are just useless. And we think of great artists whose works have been acclaimed as masterpieces over time have never suffered from harsh critics. Because who can find fault with paintings that have not only stood the test of time, but have also flown off the shelves at Sotheby's for $650 figures of brushstroke. Some of these guys that were widely criticized, they're dead now, but they're rich. there's some compensation.
They're dead, but they're rich.
Here's hoping for reincarnation, right?
Indeed.
It's like the poor. I'm quoting the good Lord himself. Like the poor, there will always be critics among us. And some revered artists receive some cold reviews in their day. So consider the first one I'm going to mention is Picasso, known for his. Look, there we have it. She's lovely. She's lovely. And it would. He's known for his revolutionizing art with his innovative technique and profound understanding of the human form. He was severely criticized by Carl Jung, one of my person I'm interested in, for his contributions to psychoanalysis, psychotherapy. But Carl was a troubled character himself, and he wrote about Picasso and said he criticized him. He said he was, quote, schizophrenic and even satanic. And so Carl Jung labeled Picasso's technique as, quote, underworld form, something that is evil and did not belong in art galleries. So, yeah. Now we got number 2, we got Claude Monet. Monet's genius was slammed by art critic Louis Leroy. Now, it could be Louis Leroy, but I never trust a man with 2 first names myself, because it seems to me like an incomplete sentence. Hi, Leroy. I'm Leroy. I'm Leroy Lewis, or Lewis Leroy.
I'm Mike Charles, and this is our news today.
I just want to get to the end. What's the end of your name? So anyway, he said, I never trust him. I said that. He said that he actually came up with the term impressionism accidentally. He was saying, I have an impression about Monet's work. And my impression was that a preliminary drawing for a wallpaper pattern is more finished than this seascape, referring to the drawing we have here, the sunrise, this classic drawing. He said, it's a wallpaper pattern would be more interesting. So that was Louis Leroy, the man with the 2 first names. Then we have Paul Cézanne. He was called a madman. Here we have one of, this is Olympia. This is a very famous Olympia, beautiful, renowned painting. The French art critic and author Marc de Montespan, who said of Cézanne's masterpiece Olympia, this is what he said, quote, Mr. Cézanne merely gives the impression of being a sort of madman, painting in a state of delirium tremens. He's crazy and he's drunk. That's how he reduced Cézanne to relative insignificance. So I'm not going to go into detail about Vincent van Gogh. I think we're all familiar with how trashed he was, how misunderstood the poor man was in his own time. And I've mentioned this in my script here, that those critics gave Vincent van Gogh an earful. And moving on from that, then, I just want to say that his paintings today sell for $60 million minimally for anything. And Marcel Duchamp, the great conceptual artist, created the fountain. And that's now regarded as his most famous work, the fountain. And we've talked about toilet bowls and toilets before, and the gold toilet from the palace. Do you remember the gold toilets that sold for $20 million?
So that was a Duchamp knockoff.
That was well. I don't know. I'd have to look back at my notes. But this, you talk about critics. This only managed to stay in the museum for 2 days and was actually thrown out in the trash. So that's a high level of criticism. If to throw something out in the trash is certainly a statement. But there are 17 replicas remaining, each of which sells for $20 million a piece. So you can pick that little puppy up there for $20 million. Nice. And then use it at, however you want. And let's not forget Andy Warhol.
Oh, good.
He offered one of his paintings, Shoe. This is the one. See a shoe and stick it up, and all day long you'll have good luck. And so he drew this, gave it to the Museum of Modern Art as a gift. Um, and Alfred H. Barr Jr., the director of the museum at the time, rejected it, sent it back, and said, limited gallery and storage space requires us to return your work due to this limited gallery and storage space. It's not fair to accept a work which will may be shown only infrequently. So now, after saying we don't have room for this, we can't store it anyplace, we'd only hang it up occasionally. They now own 165 pieces of Andy Warhol's art. So my final comment about this is critics serve a useful function when they explore and expand upon what the artist puts out there. But if you think you have something to say, don't let the critics turn off your light. And I'd like to just add one little summary song here. Carl Jung told Picasso, you are Satan's spawn. There's no museum in the world where your painting belongs. Monet's sunrise was compared to wallpaper, that sucks. But critics dead and sunrise is worth $200 million. Andy Warhol, they tried to get his shoot painting away. MoMA said we've got no space to hide this junk today. Cezanne was called a madman who painted with the shakes, and critics caused Vincent van Gogh pretty bad earaches. Duchamp's fountain in 2 days was tossed into the trash. But you can buy a copy for 200 million cash. So keep pursuing what you have with eyes upon the prize. It's better to create than it is to criticize.
Oh, I like
Yay!
For
Bravo.
2120. Okay, that's what I got.
Tom, always incredible. I don't know how you do it week after week. It's like,
well, you can probably tell I didn't labor over the melody a lot.
it worked.
Didn't labor over the melody.
If I can follow it, it's just fine. You know, it's simple.
Okay.
I like simple, straightforward. I can hum along, snap my fingers. I could even predict the final, couple of words.
Yeah. There you go.
Perfect sing along. I think that may be maybe that's the new theme song for the YubaSutter Arts and Culture organization.
You think so? Oh yeah, we have to work that out. Yeah, work through it.
So great. Well, gosh, on that note, should we welcome our special guest this week?
Yeah.
I think so.
Waiting just off stage in the green room.
I love that.
I know. Virtual green room. There she is.
It's
Angela.
yellow.
Welcome, Angela James.
Hey.
So good to see you. I've seen you on Facebook. You've been using the technology like we have to try to keep all of our artistic lives alive and sharing great things. But just by way of introduction, if I may, for members of our audience who may not know Angela, we first met Angela a couple of years ago. We were looking for a performing group to help kick off our world music series at YubaSutter Arts and Culture. And our managing director, Abby Cecina, somehow found the Phoenix Drum and Dance Ensemble based in Sacramento. They came up, they performed at the Burroughs Theater, and that began a several-year-long relationship with Angela, her daughter Olivia, and their whole ensemble that just do an amazing performance about the history of African music, coming across the Middle Passage, coming to the Caribbean islands and to North America and South America. And it's an incredible story. And the performers, if you haven't seen 10 or 12 or 14 drummers on stage playing djembes and all the other drums I can't remember the names of, it's a profound experience. So it's been so great to get to know Angela. She's a storyteller, poet, in addition to being a musician, a historian. She's a frequent guest on open mic poetry events all over the North State. She's been part of our group. She's got another group she works with, I think that you created, called Ladies of the Night. Anyway, you've done so many great things. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
So what have you been doing? Bring us up to date. It's been a crazy time since mid-March. We had to shut down all of our live events, but how have you been maintaining your artistic reserve and resources and share it.
I have to admit that since the lockdown, uh, after getting the news on March 11th that things were, the March 12th uh, private performance we had was canceled, and then everything falling like dominoes after that, it's been pretty depressing because all we were getting every day was news. Another show's been canceled. Schools are closed. We do outreach to the schools. The libraries canceled everything.
Right.
It's been, oh my goodness, we have nothing to do through August. And as far as getting creativity in motion, it just dampened everything. It just totally dampened creativity. My main thrust was trying to figure how is the group going to sustain through these times. And after that, I'm like, oh, what the heck? Art is there forever. And if I get really, really broke, I can always call in the Yuba Sutter Arts Council.
Absolutely. There you go. We can provide. We have a mini grant program we're working on. So, yeah, I know for the musicians, live performers, it's been devastating. We've obviously gone to a totally virtual format for anything we can do, although we can't do a lot of things that we would have been doing otherwise. So many events and programs have been canceled. We've had to cancel contracts for theater events with musicians throughout later this year. We've had to cancel our Harvest the Arts, our big fundraiser, and so many of us are just taking that, as you said, this huge financial hit, and hopefully we can sustain and then recover. I was on a Zoom meeting call yesterday with a couple of actors, along with a large group, one of whom runs the African American Shakespeare Company in San Francisco. And he was interviewing Coleman Santiago, incredible actor who was in Selma and some other things. But he said something early on in the conversation about when we first went into lockdown. His approach was, he says, well, I'm just going to take this time. I'm going to fill myself back up, not working on a particular project, read some other books that I wouldn't ordinarily read. And it's really given me kind of, pause for consideration, contemplation to say, yeah, we're busy, we're doing things. Can we use this time to recharge? I mean, it's not that we don't have to be concerned about the dollars and cents of lockdown and in the pandemic. We're all concerned about that, but it's sort of nice. It's been sort of nice. That's probably not the appropriate way to say it, but to step back and take a moment and recharge, to fill up. When Coleman said that, I was sort of inspired, and
Yeah.
we've done some of that, but
Yeah, I have done some of that, and just lately in the past couple of weeks, I've really gotten the creative juices flowing again, trying to figure out on several different levels, because I do so many things.
Right.
With Phoenix Drum and Dance Group. We do the school assemblies, we do the outreach, we do the performances, and also on a more personal level with my poetry and storytelling and writing. So just lately, I have started to do that again. Been doing some storytelling via Zoom. I am
I
so
know.
zoomed.
I have a term for that. It's called, are you ready? Zoom fatigue. I have Zoom fatigue too, so I hear you.
So in between meetings, official meetings, the storytelling, the poetry, and Zoom, I'm like, oh, give me strength, somebody, please.
Well, we need strength now. That's for sure. That's for sure.
But
Well-
it's working out to be a good time for me, because that couple of months where just sort of lay back and didn't do a whole lot, and I was able to recoup physically, mentally,
Recharge.
and yes, and now I'm ready for anything.
I
Good.
wanted to share. When I was in South Carolina, I was in elementary and high school, or junior high. And junior high, they had a group from Africa come by, and they were a dance troupe and drums and stuff. And they taught us some songs. I think, let me see it. Mangweni tulele kinawaki tula. Mangweni. Now I don't know what that means, but I still remember it.
Remember it? Wow.
I just wanted, the impact. I mean, you go through, because I was working with Healthy Kids last year, and we had everything got shut down. We were doing shows talking about healthy habits, and you think sometimes because the kids are rowdy or sometimes they're kind of not seeming to pay attention, that you reach them. You do. So
Yeah.
just figured I'd
Angela,
share that.
yeah. Angela, you said you just recently the creative juices started flowing again. And you also mentioned the many areas and genres that you work in. I'm curious about where the creative juices are taking you right now. Can you give us a little idea of what you're working on?
Well, as far as the drum and dance company, Phoenix Drum and Dance Company, the challenge is to try to get a performance interactive based program, try
Uh-huh.
to convert that to virtual.
I see.
Yes, that is a big challenge. And what makes it even more difficult is that we are not even sure what the schools are going to do. We do school assemblies with 400 to 600 kids at a time. That's not going to
Mhm.
happen anytime
Uh-huh.
soon. But we don't know what they're going to do. How can we plan to do this virtually if we don't know they're going to do classroom by classroom, if they're
Hmm.
if they're going to do a whole school thing with a whole school watching the same thing at the same time in the class? We have no idea. So that is what we're coming up with, these different scenarios, trying to put things in place. Get somebody who's first in videotaping, finding a venue if we have to do this. With a big group, it's difficult to do it in my living room or
Yeah.
yours.
Yes.
So those kind of challenges, and this is what I'm spending a lot of, well, not sleepless nights. I love to sleep. Work a lot of time working on what ifs, what ifs, and
Yeah.
trying to come up with something that Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission, they're the ones who pay us for any given child.
I
And
see.
yes, so I've got to come up with some sort of
Well,
suggestion.
go outdoors. Outdoors at least changes the numbers in your favor.
Yeah, but it's, do we get 400 kids
Yeah,
outdoors in a shady
that's a lot. That's a big group. Well, and you mentioned interactive, and if you've ever seen a live performance of Phoenix Drum and Dance, let me tell you, it redefines interactive. If you're there, you will drum, you will dance. You just can't not be a participant in this program. So, yeah, the pain of not being able to offer that, this virtual thing is great to a point, and that's true of any of the performing arts. You all
Yeah.
know this as musicians and performers. It's just not the same. But you press on and try to reimagine and do the best you can. And like Joe, like you said, go outdoor, even if it's a smaller group, it's something. But
Yeah,
In
but the
your
problem, we don't know what the schools are going to do.
yeah,
They
exactly.
don't know what they're going to do. So
Yeah,
another aspect of what you talked about creatively was the poetry. And that you talked about in your own personal area as opposed to working with a lot of bigger groups and basically what you do for your bread and butter. And I don't know if that includes the poetry that you would bring to the poetry out loud, stand-up poetry. I don't know, but are you writing poetry right now? Is that
it's I am not a whole lot, and some of the things that inspire the poetry, like some of the stuff that's going on today, it gets very painful to write about it, and you just, you start and maybe you stop. But I am writing a little bit. I've done poetry readings on Zoom
uh-huh.
for the Poetry Center in Sacramento, for the poetry in Davis, and I've done storytelling for the people in Petaluma here in
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Okay.
Are those for adults or children? The
Adults,
storytelling.
yes.
Adults.
Yeah, and actually, what I do when I tell stories, or when I combine stories and poetry together, what I try to do is make it for a general audience. So even I know some storytelling things say it's for adults only, and not that it's going to have any off color thing, but
Right.
I tell for everybody. And the one thing that has dried up for me has been the private storytelling, because again, that's bread and butter. Yeah,
Mm.
my
Yeah.
birthday party, I go out and I do the storytelling.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah,
Oh, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah, and not just for children, but, it's for adults. You have a special,
Yeah.
what I call phrase storytelling.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, you have a special occasion, 50th wedding anniversary or somebody's 99th birthday. I'm hired, as
Wow.
a, yes, and I
I'm going to
go
put
in.
that on my wish list. My birthday is July 4th. I got one coming up here.
Okay.
Abby.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby.
And
David, I'm sorry, Angela. I've only seen you perform maybe 3 or 4 times. Read your poetry, and I've been at poetry readings when you were doing that, and other people have their phones or whatever. They're reading the poem, and it's very nice. You have a much kind of a multimedia presentation, or how do I define it? It's there's spoken word, there's a sense of music to it, there's percussion to it. You're like moving a little bit all over. There's a poetry in your movement as well as through your mouth, and the stories. I think maybe you could help us to those of us who aren't familiar with you, those out listening who aren't familiar with you. Your stories tell about traditions and cultural heritage and things. So when you say storytelling, maybe you could help to body that out for us, and how would you define or what you're trying to do with storytelling?
well, look, let me go back in history and tell you a story.
Oh, good. That's great. Good.
No, I grew up, I'm from Trinidad, as in Trinidad and Tobago, not Trinidad, California. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for making that distinction.
And I tell people I grew up with one foot in one century and one foot in another century.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
So my family, it was like my grandmother, for instance. Every time she had to admonish you or maybe give you some advice, she would start off, well, back in Africa.
Oh.
You know,
Uh-huh.
now this woman probably couldn't find Africa on a map. You know, there
Yeah.
was a story for everything. I
Mm.
grew up being entertained by the Nancy stories, or the Nancy stories, as they're
Uh-huh.
called in the Caribbean, and it was natural in my family
I
and
see.
in the people around me. So I just, as an extension, as I grew up and I had kids, I kept doing that, and then telling at my daughter's school when she was in kindergarten. And so now when I tell stories, I tell all kinds of stories,
Uh-huh.
not necessarily the stories of my background. As a storyteller, I can tell stories from any culture. I can
Mhm.
make them up. I could be the best liar on the earth. I,
Yeah. Well, fiction is a lie in a sense.
yeah, yes. So I tell everything. I tell to kids. I tell to mixed audiences. And if it's one of those special audiences, I could get pretty raunchy if I have to. Uh,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
tell stories that your grandmother wouldn't want to hear. So
I don't know
Oh
about
my.
grandmothers nowadays. I don't know. There's some
Right.
pretty raunchy grandmothers out there, I think.
well, yeah, I'm a grandmother, so I know what.
Yeah. So, it's a very interesting presentation that you do. Um, that's something you can continue to at least visualize something poetic that you could do online. You're doing some of that stuff, but all the kind of the movement that we see, and at times, don't you use a drum when you're reading? Yeah, I mean that's what I recall. I haven't seen you for over a year now, I think, but yeah, you have some percussion going.
Yeah.
Can you capture that on Zoom presentations? Are you trying to capture all that you do live on your Zoom presentations?
Yes, I'm trying. But no, 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 because as I said, because I wear so many hats, sometimes storytellers, they say you have 5 to 7 minutes to tell a story. And what I do, and my bio says it, that I weave music and words and motion, together to make this accessible to everyone. I think mostly I'm a performer, and I
Uh-huh.
want what I do. I
I
want
can relate to that.
poetry when people just think and that they sit there and they have to listen and say,
Uh-huh.
I,
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want stuff that touches as an artist.
Yeah.
I want stuff that gets an emotional reaction. I
Yes.
want stuff that touches the soul of the average person. I want somebody who knows nothing about poetry to be able to sit and listen to a poem and say, I like that. Like the kid says, oh, I like that. And you keep repeating the words all the time. I like that. I like to get that reaction. So
Yeah.
this is what I do. I do poetry for the masses.
Yeah. I one more question. I'm sorry to monopolize you
No,
guys, but I just have to ask one
thank you,
more
Tom.
thing of Angela. You you're right about poetry and people just going up there and kind of in an emotionless way reading words, as opposed you demand attention. You don't settle for less, from what I've seen.
Mhm.
If you get up there, there's an implicit understanding in the audience that everybody shut up. This woman needs our attention. She's going to get it. There's something about your presence when you start that just says, there's no negotiating here. I give me your attention and I will give something back to you.
Mhm.
So that's my impression of you. Do you feel nervous before you go up? You appear so confident. So I'm just wondering what your precondition is before
Well,
you perform.
everybody, hey, I feel nervous coming on doing this with you.
Really?
Especially that my computer's not working right.
Uh,
I overslept. I slept in today. I didn't sign on in time. Of course you're nervous. But
uh-huh.
once you get there and you look at those people, or whether it's one person or a dozen
Yes.
people in front of you, and you're like, yeah, you got an attitude. I'm here. You got to listen to me.
Yeah, that's
I
what it is.
totally relate.
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
I've been doing the live stream with the children, and I had 4 shows in a row where there was technical difficulties in every one of them. And yeah, you just have to keep going, and yeah, once you get going, you're okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, though, Tom. You really hit a nerve there. She is a commanding presence
Yes.
in person to see Angela when she presents, and it's a
Powerful.
sight to behold, and it's a beautiful thing.
Tries to
And
make me blush.
It goes well with the yellow wall.
oh,
Yeah.
That's my
I'm
gift.
I'm repainting my office. The yellow really works.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And the orchid, you have an orchid there. Fantastic.
Yep, I have a collection.
Very
Oh,
nice.
we do too. Right, that room right behind me there, the window in there is full of orchids.
I wanted
It's
to.
mom's room.
Yeah, I know the
So
orchids are like just so much fun. All of a sudden, I grew up in Miami, Florida, and my mother was a great orchid person, and so seeing orchids, it still kind of takes me back. So. Um, I should mention some of the other collaborations that we've enjoyed, Angela. You've helped us out with Poetry Out Loud judging, where we have our high school students come in and recite poems. It's not a writing program, but they recite poems from a catalog of about 1,000. And so it's all about presentation skills, which you could write the book on. If I'm not mistaken, haven't you helped us out with Scholastic Writing Awards and judging the original writing of high school students in our 7-county region? So you've been very active in that regard. And you've helped out as a teaching artist for our Jump Starts program. Angela's daughter, Olivia, is an equally talented musician, dancer, presenter. And she's kind of done the lead, but Angela and others from the Phoenix Ensemble come out. They've been at Camp Singer, right next to Juvenile Hall, with a lot of at-risk system-engaged youth. And Angela and Olivia have come in with a whole group and gotten these young people who are, struggling in so many ways, engaged with that whole vibe, the drums, the dancing, and the
Great.
so that's been a really profound experience, and we so appreciate that collaboration and your willingness to reach out to those kinds of students. One of my favorite memories was actually last year. We couldn't do in every May we work with our United Way, Bob Harlan and his team to support the what's called the Community Resource Fair. This is where the public comes together over at the lawn at Gaucher Park, our big pool complex. And a lot of community services come out. We come out as the Arts Council to just let people know that we exist. And so last year, 2019, Phoenix Drum and Dance came out with a few members of the team. And so there we are in our kind of defined space with our pop-up and a whole bunch of djembes. And you got the several members of, I think it was the Yuba City Fire Department. There, all these young men and women in uniform, and we got some video. And so I called it, this is the Yuba City Fire Department Phoenix Drum and Dance Team. And it was just so fun. They were so engaged, and it was just, there were kids around, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So whenever you come out, whether it's poetry or music or drumming and dancing, it's just always very engaging and very interactive. So we just so appreciate that.
You make things happen, Angela. And right now, the problem for most creative people who are just kind of happenings in themselves is limited places to happen, limited places to. I mean, when you have as much creativity as you have in your bones, it has to go out someplace. So how are you dealing with sheltering? You've mentioned that it's been difficult and you haven't been motivated until just recently the juices start flowing. But are you sustaining a kind of a positive mood with all this and planning for creative things in the future?
Most certainly. And I think one of the reasons that I didn't feel up to it for a long time is that I got pneumonia.
Oh, no.
Wow, no.
No, bad time for that.
I didn't have COVID-19. I just got a really, really bad case of pneumonia that lasted for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then it went away, and then it came back. And It's not until, the last few weeks that I've been feeling better, that I'm well.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm glad you passed that.
I think that was the main factor that kept me away.
Well, I would say you need to put all your energy into fighting something like that, and all the rest can wait.
Yeah.
So I'm very upbeat. I'm very positive. The groups, I've been keeping in touch with members of the group. Talking about group, there is another group that I helped form, and this is in the poetry realm, called Ladies of the Night. And we were actually supposed to have a show in Yuba City. It was in April someplace.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and that
during Poetry Month.
Yeah, this is if Alex has a picture of us or something, maybe he can put that up. And so Ladies of the Night, yes, there we are. Yeah.
Oh.
This is all in my aim to get poetry out to the masses. And I think Dave mentioned I was a judge for Poetry Out Loud. Well, when that started years and years ago, good God, I don't remember how many years ago, Dana Joyer started that.
He did.
Yeah, I was one of the first judges for Sacramento.
Oh, really? Oh, I had no idea. Oh, my gosh.
Sacramento County with D.R. Wagner.
And,
so anyway, my whole aim is I love poetry. I love the song, the words, how it rolls off your tongue. How you can read one poem and think of one thing and somebody else. So I said, fine, if I'm having so much fun, I can get a couple other people to do this. So I love collaborations, as Dave can attest to. So I got two local poets here in Sacramento, Carolyn Stevenson Grelas and Jeanette Sim. Carolyn is a lyrical poet, she writes about family and things like that. And Jeanette, who we call Spitfire, she is, yes, I'm there for social justice. And then there is me and the storyteller. And we call ourselves Ladies of the Night because we started off using Chaucer, the wife of Bath, as the background for our. And we took that and we thought we were even in Yuba City. Yes.
You performed at Justin's Kitchen last year.
Yeah. went Yuba City, we went Davis, we were in Turlock, yeah, we're in Placerville. We six.
Yeah.
We had a tour of six, and and it was wonderful because and we had two musicians because this was presenting again poetry in a different way to make it accessible to a whole lot of people. And then YubaSutter calls us and says, "We've seen what you have done. We would like you to come and do a show here." And this is not the typical, and the next one is it's a full blown show.
Yeah.
Last December, we were able to actually rent a theater, 100-seat theater, got sold out.
Wow.
Did the whole thing with stage props and everything, and I was really excited. But I really miss not doing it in Yuba.
You'll be back. You'll be back. We want to sell out the Burroughs Theater. I would like to. Our goal is to have a sold out poetry event in YubaSutter sometime in the next 2 years.
Wouldn't that
There,
be
you
great?
heard it. You heard it here first, Tom.
There you go, David.
Joe,
Yeah.
we need your help. We need music.
All right.
We need poetry.
We could do that.
You're on.
And with collaborations, for instance, we invited one of your YubaSutter poets to play with us, Diane Funston.
Diane Funston. Yes.
So that's
Great
about
poet.
inclusivity, working together with different people, just that sort of community feeling that I wanted to promote. So I kept that.
Well, before we move to the next segment, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask. Would you care to share a poem or?
Well, yes, I would love to share a poem. And this is one poem, and I'm probably going to have to read it, that I wrote a couple of years ago. And I think it's appropriate for these times as well, because when I wrote the poem, it was in response to one of those really stupid things where somebody drove their car into a group of protesters in North Carolina, or was it South Carolina? That was in 2017. And I sat there and I heard people carrying on, and it was a very politically charged situation. And I was at a poetry reading, and I just sat and I wrote this. And so I will leave this with you. It is very appropriate to these times, I think. And I sort of call it my personal anthem right now, except for the sign in my driveway that says "Justice for All." I painted my driveway. Yes.
Amen.
I come not to testify, for you know the state of this land, splintered by hate, by race, sponsored by a system that serves to alienate, to divide, to subjugate. I come not to signify, for you know that bombastic boast and self-aggrandizing toast are mere entertainments designed to stoke the flames and produce colorful smoke. I come not to prophesy, for you know the road down which we have to tread, lined with boulders and knotted rope, and no trace of remorse from those who set the course. I come to edify, for you know what is wise. Educate, we must. Elucidate, we must. Exhort, we must. Engage the power to choose, we must. That which is right and just.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Angela, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual. It's so good to see you. Glad you've recovered from your bout with pneumonia, and
Yes,
we
indeed.
so much look forward to seeing you and everyone in person in the very near future.
And thank you for having me. And
Of course.
Been a pleasure.
Of tonight.
You're
Been
a
a pleasure.
wonderful guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Until we meet again. Thank you, Angela.
Ciao.
Wow.
Can I just give a shout out to Diane Funston? She mentioned Diane. Diane is pretty much a regular at our poetry, stand-up poetry. and really, genuinely, profoundly good poet.
Yeah.
She's captures an image. She uses a symbol. She uses a metaphor. She paints a picture. She's a top-notch poet. So I just want to give a shout out to Diane her husband Roger
Yeah.
Funston is
Yeah.
also an extremely fine poet. So
Wow.
yeah.
So much local talent. We're so happy to be right here at the center. So
Yeah.
oh, good stuff. Well, can I share a few little odds and ends and
Please do in the art
order?
world.
By
Yeah,
all means.
well, just some of it's just kind of newsy and a couple of event announcements. But I wanted to mention a couple of things. If you haven't noticed, we've adjusted our logo a little bit. At our last board meeting, we've changed not our legal name, but we still have this very awkward long Yuba County, Sutter County Regional Arts Council is our legal name, but our kind of our marketing name, we've added "and culture." And that's by virtue of the fact that we're getting involved in more and more projects that go beyond the normal boundaries of just art, where we're working with different groups like the Japanese Americans on a big mural project and the memorial site. And we're working on a reforestation project in Olivehurst you'll be hearing more about. It's trees and murals going in simultaneously. So anyway, we're really broadening our horizons, and that opens up some additional funding doors for us with other types of grants. You'll be hearing more about that in the near future. And speaking of which, I just do want to mention we do have a new mural in town in Marysville that nobody knows about. We've kind of kept it quiet, but it's just about done, 125 feet long.
Wow.
It's an homage to the Japanese Americans in general in America, but specifically in our community. It's over on B Street. We're going to have a dedication ceremony here in a few weeks. Madeline Templeton is our artist who did this, and anyway, she's an amazing.
It's on the Buddhist temple, is that right?
It's on a building right next to the Buddhist church.
Buddhist church. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right where they do the Oban festival. And when I imagined this project, I said, "Gee, we need a backdrop." And we went out and found some money, and now we got a backdrop that it'll just knock your socks off when you see this. Not just because of the scope; it's big, it's epic, but the detail and the story is just marvelous. Have you heard about Kalakara? Anybody?
Well, we have, and
yes,
we've been.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Kalakara Art Studio in Yuba City. Yeah, Kalakara. For those of you who don't know, I've been educated. Means artist in Punjabi. And we spent a lot of time getting it right and spelling it properly. But we've got a new logo we'll be introducing. But this is a art studio co-op right at Walnut and Reeves, just about a block off of Plymouth Street, within walking distance of all the fun stuff that goes on Plymouth Street. So we have some art studio space available, very reasonably priced. It's heavily subsidized by some grants we've received. So anybody looking for some art studio space, give us a call, get a hold of us at Yuba Sutter Arts. We're easy to find.
Tina Linville was such a great guest 2 weeks ago. She really was interesting. And I saw her artwork down in the corner there, Fourth and E.
Oh, good.
At the studio. And she did something in response to the George Floyd killing. And it's really interesting concept.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned Tina because she's, as you know, a professional artist, and she's going to be running our art mentorship program, which is also open and available. This is at no cost we're asking for folks that are, serious about art, but they're kind of emerging artists. This is students 16 and up, as well as adult artists who kind of want to up their game. And she'll meet you at whatever level you're at in your artistic endeavors. If you're kind of experienced, but you really want to up your game, if you're really spending a lot of time, but you want to learn more about the marketing aspects of art at a professional level, Tina can come and meet you at whatever stage you're in. So again, we can hook you up with Tina. There's just an application process. We've still got plenty of openings for that. So art mentorship at Yuba Sutter Arts. Get a hold of us and we'll guide you through that.
Awesome.
Yeah, all the arts community is suffering. There's no question about it. I was on the board meeting call the other night with the acting company, and as I'm sure the community has heard, those who follow the acting company, all of their shows continue to be postponed. David Wheeler's production of All Wilderness, the O'Neill comedy, is postponed indefinitely. Still very anxious to do it, but No telling when that might happen. So keep an eye on Acting Company. When we have updates, we'll certainly announce them at YubaSutterArts&Culture. But and our heart goes out to Acting Company and every other group in town, and all the individual actors and performers, and we're doing the best we can. One bright note: we were talking to Jessica Haugen the other day, and she announced on Artist Alchemy that the Sutter County Museum is reopening next week.
Yay.
Limited hours. Of course, they've been doing the farmers market Wednesdays evenings, but she'll be open. So get back out there and support that great local museum.
Hey, I've got a little the Sutter Theater.
Yeah,
I know I'm gonna be going over there this week to clean up the lobby because tile is coming in.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so if you know anything about how this works, tile means we're right around the corner from having the bathrooms done and stuff. So
good.
You know, that would be so cool to be able to have an additional space like that has the room to be able to social distance people while still doing a show, because it is big enough to do that.
No, absolutely. We're very excited. Just a couple more things. We had a Plymouth Street art crawl planned for this week, June 26th. Of course, that's been postponed. It was popping up on some of the calendars because so much was in Explore Yuba Sutter, and so just a heads up, no Plymouth Street art crawl. Next Tuesday evening, afternoon, 4:00 on our weekly Artist Alchemy interview program, talking about the advantages of virtual reality, if you will. We'll be interviewing our friend Andrew Swords, who's a professional violinist. He lives in Cleveland, Ohio. He's been out here a number of times to perform. And then we're also having our friend Scott Seaton, who's a conductor. He lives in Monterey, but he runs the North State Symphony up at Chico. And Andrew and Scott together are just a riot. They are these professional musicians, full-time career musicians who travel the world doing what they do. And they get together, they're like a couple of kids. We've had the pleasure of hosting them here in our home. And then when they get on stage, it's like they make beautiful music, and they're just such a delight. So 4:00 next Tuesday, YubaSutterArts.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, if you haven't experienced these guys, in fact, Andrew, when he was here last year, he put on a show for us at the Silver Dollar Saloon called Brahms and the Brothel. That was
sure.
Upstairs space, and that was a sold-out event. So, high-quality classical music and an edgy atmosphere apparently is something we can sell in this town. So,
there you go.
Whatever works.
So, think about what's a B? What's a pop musician? Somebody with a start. Beatles in the Brothel. How about that?
How about that? That's not bad.
Think about it, guys.
Yeah. Body songs are the body songs. Do you remember a guy named Oscar Brand a long time ago, Dave?
Absolutely.
Oscar Brand, his nautical songs, sea songs, and body songs, and he had these great folk songs that were filthy. They were not. I mean, they were. It was the 50s, 60s.
Tom, hang on a minute.
Hey.
A brothel and body songs. I did not go with BAWI.
I'm sorry.
Body.
Body.
Right, Joe.
Body.
We can do body shots if you want.
There doesn't have to be a separation here.
Speaking, as long as we can do the Sex Pistols, friggin' in the riggin'.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
That's a great sailor song there.
Oh my God, it's the best.
And how about Joe's got a show he's presenting here coming up in July, maybe?
I'm hoping. All right, right now it's I'm trying to get the rest of the videos in. I got Gay and Tom have submitted their video of David Bowie's Changes. I rewrote the first verse, and then Tom, thank you very much. He wrote the second verse. It kind of makes me blush, but I'll let you guys see it when it goes on. And then
is this your COVID show, or what's the show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a COVID parody. I wrote all those parodies, and I'm getting people to sing them for me.
Oh,
I'm working with Kelly Barber this week to get America the Beautiful parody recorded. And then I've got Pinky and my couple bandmates that are going to do some. And then when I get all this together, then I'll be talking to you, David, about putting it into a show form.
Yeah, let's do it.
I was trying to get some people to read a couple of my poems, since we're talking about poetry. I have a file I call Facebook poems. And so every time I write a new one, it just goes there. And I didn't realize I'm up to like 6 pages.
Wow.
I know. It's like, It's like, huh? I wonder if anybody
whole
did.
thing. It's as miserable as it is, and it is miserable. It is making us think outside the box, and there is a hereafter for some of this stuff. I think once we're back live doing all kinds of things. I know at YubaSutterArts there's some things we're going to do that we've learned during this horrible time that I think will help with engagement. Because there's some people that for various reasons can't come to a show, but they can log in, and so good for
we
you.
can figure out a way to do that. I've been doing that. My business is as a children's performer, so I'm continuing my Friday morning shows, and I'm just getting better and better at this process of video presentation. And I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it'll be a part of everything we do from this point forward. So
thank goodness we got on the bandwagon here, and you certainly jumped on it. And we've tried. Tom, you're a major practitioner, you and Gay, so it is what it is. And we'll keep it going and keep the art and culture alive. Two more things, if I may, and then I'll let you all take us out. Just wanted to mention next Wednesday is our YubaSutterArts and Culture's final board meeting of the year, and it's always a special event because it's of course this year it's all Zoom, and as always all of our board meetings are open to the public, but the public's welcome to tune in on Facebook and watch us elect our board of officers for the year. But then I'll be giving a kind of a state of art and culture in Yuba Sutter presentation. We take the audience through a presentation about what's going on in the community. Of course, it's a little bit of a shout out for what YubaSutterArts and Culture has done. But we also touch on other organizations, and we'll feature a little bit about everybody in the community, and folks can get a quick catch up if you haven't been keeping track of what's been going on in spite of the pandemic. There are, as Joe pointed out, with the progress at the Sutter Theater, so much happening. So for any of these, if you want to be live and actually participate in the meeting, all of these are at our website or on our Facebook page under events at YubaSutter Arts or Arts and Culture now. Okay. There's a Zoom link, and they're just awkward to share live like this. And lastly, next week, the next day, in fact, Tom, you've got your monthly songwriter workshop, June 25th at 6 p.m.
June 26th. I got to try.
If you want to dial in, check out the event postings on YubaSutterArts Facebook page. You can get the Zoom meeting login details for Tom's songwriter workshop next Thursday evening. So that's all we've got for now. Lots more coming up in the weeks ahead, but stay tuned and do something. Stay connected. Stay artful.
Yeah, don't just sit there. and thanks again to Angela James for really wonderful interview. So great to get to know these people who are in our vicinity doing creative things, and we see them perform, and it's so great to get the inside track on who they are and how they are and what they're doing. So thanks to Angela.
Yeah, indeed. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with. I met her once at when I did attend one of the Poetry Out Louds over at Justin's.
Right.
And so you kind of do a round. Everybody gets a chance to share their work if they're interested. There's some people that are just there to listen. But when it came her turn, she just sat in her chair. But it was weird how once she started speaking, all of the attention was on her. There was no
she's a performer. She's a performer.
And on the subject of this virtual stuff, and now again, you two are great practitioners and you've done so much. Let me just mention that I know from our perspective at YubaSutterArts and Culture, and I know from yours as performers and presenters, and we didn't even mention the couch concert series that's also available.
And we're up to stuff. Yeah, we're still doing it.
There's all this great stuff going on, and it's like if you're in a live venue, you'd be applauding like crazy at the end of whatever the presentation is. The equivalent of that online, of course, is to like it, comment it, share it.
Yes,
we love that. So we're not being paid to do what we do, but that's the payback. And if you like what we're doing, share it. And I should say, all of these shows, as well as our interviews and anything else we're doing, we've got a massive YubaSutterArts and Culture YouTube channel. So just go to YouTube, search on YubaSutterArts and Culture. You can look up any of these programs we've had. So take advantage of it. Anyway, that's the lecture for today.
No, that's a good lecture.
Yep.
So I'm planning my next sing-along show in my mind. I'm formulating that. Joe, I've started a radio show,
Oh,
that I'm hoping you'll be a part of.
yeah, I'd
Old Time
love to
Radio
be.
Show. It's kind of a radio show about a radio show, and I'll give you more information.
I'm
Um,
intrigued.
You're
yeah,
such a tease, Tom. You're such a tease.
there's we've been talking about this for a long time, Joe, and so I finally just said enough kicking the
Awesome.
can. Let's just do it. And so I started it out. I'll let you know more about it as it goes. But
Okay.
yeah, we'll see.
All right, gentlemen, I think we're done.
I think we are. Alex, thank you, Alex. Great to see
Yeah,
you.
Alex. Hey, have
Joe.
fun in Boston. Enjoy your humidity.
We'll see you all in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yep, sir. Stay safe, gentlemen.
Thanks,
care.
Tom. Thanks, Joe.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Al.
guys.